recall first waking up at around 3:30ish in the morning, and I spent the early morning hours working on my presentation regarding the Day Naughty 2005 documentary regarding Central Americans' journey through Mexico to ultimately get to the border of the U.S.-Mexico border and to get into the United States. The majority of this work involved making the PowerPoint I would use for the presentation using Google Slides. Starting at 9:30 in the morning, we had our African politics class, in which the professor gave a lecture regarding conflicts in Africa and their causes. I recall asking a pretty good question at some point after or as the professor was talking about the democratic peace theory, stating that democracies generally do not declare war on each other or on other countries for that matter. And this is true because to stay in power within a democracy, you need the support of the people. You need the support of your people, or else you're at risk of being voted out. Just like what happened in the 2020 presidential election, in which I voted out the previous president, but in that case, they never had my support to begin with. And in the course of 4 years, they lost the support of quite a few people. Due to abusing human rights, bumbling the pandemic, and generally being ineffective. I asked if a democracy has to be free, or in other words, not be dominated by one party. Like it is in China and Russia. And both of their democracies are dominated by one party. And so they can't really be said to be a free democracy, because those views who are not that of the one dominating party are generally not going to be represented. They can't really be said to be free democracies, so it seems to me that as long as you belong to the one dominating party, you don't need the support of your people. In a democracy where one party dominates, and thus, those countries with illiberal democracies don't actually need the support of the people. So they can declare wars even if they're unpopular. And I connected it to Africa by stating that African countries are generally democracies, but only a minority of African countries are free democracies. In which your views don't have to fall in line with one party. For them to be represented. I made an attempt at this is the subway I got from the Seymour Union following my Spanish class, during which I gave my presentation. Excuse me, I was the third last to go because I wanted to wait for all of the Dropbox presenters to go first. By virtue of having made my presentation off of Google Slides, I have to log into my Google account to access my Google Slides presentation. In the lead up to your presentation, I was somewhat nervous. I was a little nervous during the presentation. And because I essentially had to wing it in terms of determining what I was going to say. This represents my attempt at planning a sort of script for what I was going to say for the presentation, even though I knew I wasn't allowed to read off of it, because I figured that it was a good way to help me plan. At some point, I thought I would have to do both that presentation and my policy memo for my national security class. In retrospect, I was very relieved to learn that this was not the case. That policy memo is due on Friday, not today. And thank goodness for that. I had to focus a lot of my energy during the presentation. I went over the time limit of 7 minutes by a little more than double. My presentation was a total of 15 minutes, but it didn't feel like 15 minutes because I spent quite a bit of effort thinking about what I was going to say next at every single point. At 8 p.m., there's supposed to be a program at the Eagle Hall lobby in which you get to make a stress ball. It sounds like it might be fun. Yeah, I actually got a copy of this daily exclusive. Even though I didn't really want to, it was part of an effort for me to complete part of an earlier task set, for me to get knowledge points for me to spend on. I'm about to complete another task set. This will be my 64th task set. This is where I'm at in regards to the Dwarven Ancient Wonders. Though I'm not entirely sure how I would end up placing that building, that ancient wonder. Presumably I'd have to find some way to move this or to get rid of it. Get this city expansion, but then probably another because it's a 3x8 ancient wonder, and so it would require significant amounts of space. This is where I'm at currently in regards to the research tree. I have technologies I can activate at any time. I'm just saving them for in case a future task set tells me to activate a technology or two off of the research tree. I actually started this elixir manufactory upgrade because I got this task. As I'm probably hemorrhaging supplies at this point, maybe I should put the next city expansion here and build a new workshop. There's also a need for me to soon get rid of this dwarven settlement so I can replace it with the fairy settlement. Now, these are the birthday cannoli. I got this paint from my art class. I know it started at 2. There was a PowerPoint on color and color schemes. I tried to take notes for. Primarily because taking notes during a lecture or PowerPoint is a good way to retain the information. At least that's what I've been told. I think that presentation lasted roughly 20 minutes. Afterwards, I spent the rest of class and maybe a little extra time applying the first layer of brown paint. Well, I made the brown by mixing all 3 primary colors, and then I added a dash of black in order to shade the brown I made a little bit, so it would look closer to the actual shoe. It's a dark brown dress shoe. By clanks, it would appear. Though I technically started my art class, I believe I managed to come in a little early despite kind of wasting time with that whole subway plan, getting subway at the Seymour Union building, the main fireside lounge. Maybe about 15 or so minutes early. Plus, I made a stop for a bathroom break, a pre-class bathroom break at the tower, at a bathroom that was on the 2nd floor. I believe this is meant to be some kind of egg roll. Some kind of Thai veggie wrap. It's alright. The most recent thing I've been doing is working on my responses to the 4 comprehension questions for the documentary that I based the presentation on. That's what everyone did the presentation on, but a couple of the presenters presented something so detached from the documentary that I couldn't really comprehend what was going on. During the color presentation in my visual art experience class, I felt pretty groggy, which is a synonym for tired. And I felt pretty tired while I was working on those comprehension questions. They're due by midnight, and I'm afraid I'll fall asleep while working on them and wake up to see that I'll be now submitting it a day late. I have no idea for how long I've stayed awake at this point. I've had some mild heartburn lately. At least I think it's heartburn. It's hard to describe, I think. And I've tried to self-treat it with splash water, which does help at times. I believe at some point I ate the entire sleeve of the entire can of the cheddar flavored Pringles. And then at another point I had the habanero beef strip from that heart-shaped box over there. I did some more cleaning up. At my dorm room. These being during the early morning hours to the morning hours. I think the early morning hours might start at 3 a.m. or that might still be late night hours, and the early morning hours might start at 5 in the morning. I spent some time working on the new tournament that opened up. It's a gems tournament, so it's a good kind of tournament for me since I try to always produce the combining catalysts here at the Magic Academy. So I've got an abundance of catalysts, combining catalysts, but not many spell fragments. I believe that in a pinch you can disenchant combining catalysts, but I don't think you get a whole lot from it. And it is possible, though, for me to upgrade the Magic Academy. Not sure if it would really be worth it, though. It takes an awfully long time to get diamonds. In this game. Yeah, the thing with my plan of getting a foot-long sub, 9-grain wheat, deluxe, steak, and cheese, the cheese being pepper jack, after I decided to switch to that from my initial decision of the provolone, with cucumbers, lettuce, and black olives, mayo, and honey mustard. And I got the foot-long toasted. Though for obvious reasons, it had to be toasted before any veggies were put on it. It was toasted after the meat and cheese was put on it. I got that sub with a bag of Sun Chips and a one of those new Reese's Pieces cookies. I got this unfinished energy drink that I recall first opening up at around 10 in the morning. So before my Spanish Day Naughty presentation. Me feeling that the energy drink thing is a habit of mine. Even though I have no idea if it actually helps me in particular to stay awake during the days. I could have a high tolerance to caffeine due to a habit I had back in middle school, I believe, of getting a coffee with my breakfast every single day. And then, of course, I drank energy drinks during my earlier years in college. So, excuse me, it could possibly be something like that. But obviously, I don't depend on caffeine because I don't get headaches when I don't have it. It's just a habit of mine. It's just about 8 right now. I tested the gallon of milk in my mini fridge, and the milk was still good, even though it's at this point it's probably more than a week past the sell-by date. Here's the birthday cannoli.